Today, we're going to build a toolkit for your brain. We're breaking down a clear, structured way to tackle those messy problems, you know the ones, and make much better decisions. Let's dive in. You know the feeling, right? You're staring at a problem and it's just this tangled knot of information. You don't even know where to start. We have all been there, and honestly, it's a universal feeling. And when you're stuck, you've basically got two options. You can go with your gut, which, let's be honest, often leads to chaos and bias. Or you can use structured thinking, which is all about finding clarity with evidence and logic. That's what we're aiming for today. So I'm going to walk you through a really powerful but simple framework. It's something you can start using right away to turn that chaos into crystal clear clarity. Okay, first things first. Before we even touch the problem, we have to prep our most important tool, our own mind. This is all about understanding how we think and spotting the mental traps that can trip us up. Really great thinking stands on these three pillars. Curiosity is what makes you want to learn more. Skepticism is like your personal fact checker. But the real superpower here is humility. Being able to say, hey, I might be wrong about this. That's what opens you up to finding the best answer, not just the one you first thought of. Now, one of the biggest hurdles to clear thinking is something called cognitive bias. Just think of them as these little mental shortcuts your brain takes. They're designed to be fast, but boy, they can lead to some serious errors in judgment, and you won't even see it happening. And here is a perfect example. I mean, who hasn't done this? When things go well, it's because we're brilliant. When they go badly, well, it was just bad luck. That's the self-serving bias. It feels good, but it completely stops you from learning from your mistakes. And there are so many of these mental traps. Confirmation bias is when we only look for stuff that proves we're right. Anchoring is when we get stuck on the first piece of info we hear. The halo effect, that's when we think because someone is good at one thing, they must be good at everything. Just knowing these exist is a huge first step to avoiding them. All right, so our minds are sharp and we're aware of our biases. Now it's time for step 2. Let's actually tackle the problem. The secret here isn't to solve it all at once, but to break that chaotic mess down into smaller, manageable chunks. And how do we do that? It all begins with asking really good questions. Seriously, the quality of your answers is directly linked to the quality of your questions. So instead of jumping to a solution, we need to get curious about the problem itself. This is where a fantastic tool like the 5W2H method comes in. It sounds a little technical, but it's just a super simple way to make sure you're looking at a problem from all sides. These 7 questions, what, who, where, when, why, how, and how much, they force you to get specific. They make you dig for actual data instead of just running on assumptions. It's like a built-in defense against your own biases, giving you that full 360-degree view of what's really going on. So you've asked the questions, you've gathered all this info, now what? You've got a pile of facts, and a pile of facts isn't very useful. You need to organize it into a logical structure, a roadmap. And the gold standard for creating that roadmap is a principle called MECE. It stands for mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. All that means is that your categories can't overlap, and altogether they have to cover every single possibility. Think of it like organizing your closet. Every shirt has its own place, and there are no shirts left on the floor. No gaps, no overlaps. This visual explains it perfectly. On the one hand, you've got this messy, overlapping jumble. That's how our brains often work by default. But on the other side, that's MECE. Clean, distinct categories that cover the whole picture. That's how you build a rock-solid logical argument. Okay, so our mind is sharp, our problem is structured. Now we need to figure out where to focus our energy. Because you can't do everything. The key is to find the 1 or 2 things that will make the biggest difference. And to find that sweet spot, we turn to a classic, incredibly powerful mental model, the 80-20 rule. You might also know it as the Pareto principle. The core idea here is so simple, but so profound. Your results and your efforts are almost never evenly matched. In most cases, a huge chunk of your results, like 80%, comes from a tiny fraction of your effort, that vital 20%. Your job is to find that 20%. So instead of spreading yourself thin, trying to do everything, the goal is to pinpoint that critical 20% and just go all in on that. It's the ultimate definition of working smarter, not harder, right? You get a massive return for a focused investment of your time and energy. And you see this principle play out everywhere. In business, a few key clients bring in most of the money. In software, a handful of bugs cause most of the problems. And for you, personally, a few key tasks will drive the vast majority of your progress. Find them. Focus on them. So let's just recap that journey. It's really a three-step map. First, you sharpen your mind. Then, you structure the chaos. And finally, you find your focus. It's a clear path to get from a tangled mess to a plan you can actually act on. What this whole toolkit really gives you is confidence. The confidence to look at any messy, complicated problem and know, okay, I've got a process for this. You can make sense of it, find the real issue, and pinpoint the best way forward. This isn't just theory, it's a practical guide for thinking better. So the only question I have left for you is, what messy problem are you going to solve first?